Yeah, someone's coming in.
There he is. We can get started now.
Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
we're waiting for you.
Ready.
Good evening, everyone. Taneytown Community Comprehensive Plan Workshop will come to order. Would you please stand for the pledge to the flag? Let the records reflect the members that are present, and Councilman Tillman should be joining us shortly. Everyone should have received the minutes from February the 18th, 2025. Is there any comments or anything that someone would like to make? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the minutes from February 18th.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved signify by saying nay. Carried. Thank you. Chris or Emily, either one of you or Dan want to start us off here?
I defer to Arrow.
Okay, I can jump in. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you. So you all should have received the draft of the vision and goals that we'll be discussing tonight. Hopefully you all had a chance to look those over. We're going to put them up on the screen so we can all look at them and go over them together. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, so this draft represents essentially taking, it's a compilation of the information that we've collected during all the background information, the results from the community survey, as well as input from the commission to come up with this initial draft of vision and goals that will shape the planning elements of the document as we move forward. So just keep in mind that it's an aspirational statements, right? So this is what we're looking to achieve, right? Not that it's going to be easy or that it's already something that's done, but these are, essentially the vision, as the statement says, in terms of what we're hoping to achieve. So I just want to read through this vision statement to begin with, and then get input from the commission in terms of, yes, this is on target, or no, this doesn't make any sense, or what can we do to make it, what kind of changes that might need to be made. So just jumping right in to the vision, again, this is painting the picture of what the community aspires to become, right, over the next 10 years. That's the time frame we're working with the comp plan. And just to, I guess the easiest for me just to read these statements, and then we'll get some feedback.
Do we want to go paragraph by paragraph or?
I think that would probably be the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Jump from that perspective. So first paragraph, Taneytown will continue to embrace its small town charm and strong sense of community while fostering sustainable growth, economic vitality, and enhanced quality of life for all residents, businesses, and visitors. The city will be a vibrant, well-connected community that balances historic preservation, modern development, and environmental stewardship. So any initial reactions to that?
I'm good with the first paragraph.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, moving on to the second paragraph then. A revitalized downtown will serve as the economic and cultural heart of the community, offering a mix of thriving local businesses, diverse housing options, and public spaces that encourage gathering and engagement. Thoughtfully planned residential and commercial growth will ensure affordability, accessibility, and walkability while preserving the city's unique character.
Have a few comments or questions. You ready?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Um, Okay, so for the first paragraph there, we want to revitalize downtown, and I know we talk about that a lot, and I guess that's what I thought that I wanted, but I don't own any property downtown. So I started to wonder, the people that own the property, they had the opportunity to do things over the years, but they've decided to make them apartments and stuff like that. And I'm sure that's a better, a constant funding stream. It's all about making money. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bought the property. I guess the questions that I had for myself are, what do they really want? And, why didn't they make it happen in the past if they wanted it to be a business? Why didn't they make it happen? And, what's going to happen in the future that, I'm assuming something happened that they were not able to make it a business front. What's going to change in the future that's going to enable them to make it a business front? So I don't have any answers, and I don't really have a position right now. Just kind of throwing that out there for conversation.
Pick up on that?
Well, I can tell you from my past experience when I own downtown property here and also up in New Oxford, I can never make money off retail. I made it off my apartments. That's a guaranteed income. You had businesses coming and going all the time.
I'll just remind everybody that we're talking about the vision statement and not necessarily what we have today. So, as Craig said, not an easy thing to achieve necessarily, but is that what we aspire to be? Certainly it would be easier, I think, for a lot of landlords to convert their ground floors to apartments. That would probably be the easiest thing, get a steady income stream, not have the vacancies between commercial uses. But is that the vision that the city, is that what everybody wants to see 20 years from now?
I understand your vision, but your vision doesn't pay the bills.
No, understood.
Okay.
Understood completely. Right. It's about economics for property owners. So it's about, is there some way to incentivize them so that so that with, the small steps approach, that there can be incremental changes so that eventually, as the Main Street program's goals are to kind of flip the script so that it makes it more profitable for property owners ultimately to rent the commercial space on the ground floor than to use it as apartments. It's a long road to get to, and we've you all have been around town long enough to see, the boom bust cycle of downtown. So, there are times that all the storefronts are full, and then, a year later, you've got half of them empty again. So it's definitely not an easy task, but it's, what will we like to see eventually? What do we, aspire to?
Exactly. And everything that we've seen to this point, right? And even where the city's efforts are still focused, right? Even with the Main Street program, there's still that desire and that vision to strengthen the downtown. And that has come through pretty strong, pretty loudly with the surveys and with the discussions we've had to date. So while it doesn't exist today, doesn't mean that I don't think there's a desire to abandon that vision.
Yeah, so I agree. That's what I'd like to see, but I'm not a property owner down there. And,
Right.
And I agree that the community surveys seem to indicate that they would like to see stuff downtown. It's just my lack of knowledge of what's going to change to enable that to happen. So I guess that's the challenge that would be laid in front of the town.
That is, and again, it's these statements are going to direct what the efforts and priorities of the city are moving forward. And if it's still to continue this, then it's still looking at what opportunities are out there to help promote the downtown. Do we pursue grants and funding opportunities to continue to do that, or do we focus those priorities somewhere else? So, eh, but again, I mean, I do think the downtown is the heart of the community. Uh, Even in its current state as a more of a residential uh, uh, kind of focus right now, but I think that is still a viable and attainable goal to have that as that vision statement.
No recommendations for a change for me. I just kind of wanted to have the conversation, so I do appreciate that.
No, it's good to revisit these things and to kind of talk them through and understand again, it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow, but it's still where the priorities are going to be focused.
This didn't happen overnight either. I mean, if we go back 30 years from what happened year by year to where we are today,
Right.
plans is for another 10 years. What do we foresee for the future for the 10 years ahead of us? Continue to struggle with the empty storefronts? See the storefronts become residential. What is our economic development efforts going to be to support downtown? I guess that's one of the big things we got to look at as we go towards the future.
And
That's
the,
We're looking for, I mean, 10 years from now, we don't know what it's going to be like. Certainly wouldn't like to see what we see now with all the empty storefronts.
Just along those lines, for those who may not have, taken time to watch some of the city council meetings of late, the council did, I guess, now I'll acknowledge that we have an election upcoming and there are probably going to be some seats that turn over. So what this council thinks may not be what the next council thinks. But the current council did reaffirm their commitment to the Main Street program in, seeking a new economic development director who will dedicate the majority of his or her time as the Main Street manager, which is a step up from what was done previously. So the council has kind of reaffirmed that vision and support for the, for the downtown, for the Main Street program. So we hope that with a new person on board, we'll maybe see some successes that we haven't realized in recent years.
Open.
in the next paragraph where it says a walkable,
Oh, I'm not into that paragraph
Not
yet.
into
Yeah, but come on, man, we didn't get to that paragraph
Got
yet,
that.
brother. Come on.
Just patient.
yes.
So in the same paragraph there, we talk about diverse housing options. So I was just kind of curious as what everybody really thinks that means. So when I look around downtown, you can have you can own the full home, or you can have apartments. I don't think there's really any other options. So when we say diverse, the first thing that comes to my mind is all the different zoning that we have, townhomes, condos, so a larger number of options as opposed to two. I don't think two is really diverse. So I guess depending on what everybody thinks, I think we might want to consider a different terminology there, or even if I don't know, to me, if you said multiple options is better than diverse for whatever reason. When I think of diverse, I think of like a lot of stuff.
Okay, that's a good that's good input. So the point is to just identify that more than providing more options from and across a wider price range as well, right? So you need to provide opportunities for first-time home buyers as well as established.
It's just my feelings.
Yeah.
I guess
No,
you could put condos down there, then you'd have 3 different options. I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Just for discussion purposes, I guess, when we talk about downtown, are we talking about a zoning district boundary, or are we talking about a different geographical area? With this second paragraph, it talks about, thoughtfully planned residential and commercial growth, but the existing downtown within the downtown business district is substantially built out. So there's, I don't know that the numbers work for redevelopment, as is the case in some communities where the land values are such that it makes it worthwhile to, knock down buildings and start from scratch.
Right.
I don't know that, we see that pressure for, for land here, because there's, ample opportunity for greenfield development. But when we talk about the downtown, are we talking about, kind of like a circle radiating, going out from the square perhaps? Or, are we talking about the older, higher density, part that's walkable from the square or from Main Street here? Does it include the vacant, the open, undeveloped property behind Warehouse Alley? If we think of that as part of downtown, that's an area where maybe we could have that thoughtfully planned residential and commercial development. So I guess that's something that again, with our downtown, as far as the zoning district goes, it's largely built out already. So I'm not sure what sort of development we really would expect to see there.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that's a great point too, in terms of, does that, what everybody's perception of what downtown is, does that need to be expanded? So that's something we can look at in the planning elements, is changing that boundary of what is downtown, and maybe what those, and how those opportunities might exist for maybe developing some of those other areas that are underutilized, or redevelopment of some of those areas.
I wonder what's the percentage of single home owners compared to the apartment buildings in what we call our downtown business area? Probably.
I don't know that off the top of my head. I don't know if Emily has a good sense of that.
I don't.
Okay. But that's, certainly something we can look at. Like I said, what that, does that downtown boundary need to be modified? And, and then coordinating that, collaborating with the Main Street program to see what those boundaries are.
That's what I was thinking,
Yeah,
as far as
anecdotally, I would say
bringing in
so.
local businesses. What we have now, what is large enough for a business that can profit by being downtown?
Yeah.
Space that we already have.
I guess my vision, when we say downtown, was really the downtown business. That's what I was envisioning.
From the railroad track to the church to the,
So north, it goes up to the alley, the first alley north of the square.
Church Street.
And west, it's Church Street. And then south, it goes down. I think it encompasses down to the Catholic cemetery.
Yep.
And somewhere down there, it switches to general business, I think, where Rashi Brothers and Dr. Tate's office is. I don't remember exactly where the switch is, but it's downtown business all the way down to where it converts to general business. And on the east end, it goes out to Taneytown Liquors and the gas station across the street. Antrim, I think, is the boundary on the Turanian Road end.
Sorry, Mr. Garner, didn't mean to interrupt you before, but I think we're up to your comment.
I don't remember now.
Yes, you
I
do.
just have a problem with the word walkable downtown because we're not practicing that now. Either we should start practicing it or.
let's go ahead with paragraph 3 then.
Well, I mean, so again, because that comes up again in paragraph 3. So Taneytown will strengthen its multimodal transportation network, providing or prioritizing safe pedestrian and bicycle access while improving vehicular traffic flow. Green infrastructure, renewable energy, and sustainable water resource management will play a vital role in protecting the environment. So this brings in the walkability, and again, this is the vision. And one thing that we heard in the prior meetings and through the surveys is, all these neighborhoods are not connected, right? There is no interconnection. Everything is kind of on an island by itself, and um, looking for ways to connect these connect these neighborhoods, and make people feel safe when they're out walking the streets, crossing the streets, is critical to getting people to the downtown as well. Because there's not necessarily a ton of parking, so walkability is important in terms of getting people around in the community. So if that's not the vision that you're looking for, then we can certainly change that. But that seemed to be what came through to this point.
And I think that from a design standpoint and a building requirements or development requirements standpoint, the city does promote walkability because we do have a very good sidewalk network throughout much of the city, and modern development, is required to do sidewalks on both sides of the road and so on. So there is a lot of pedestrian connectivity. I think the downside is the more or less suburban pattern of development, that the distance you have to walk to get to anything besides your neighbor's house is, such that people are going to hop in their cars and drive.
Right.
I mean, I can walk, on a sidewalk out to the shopping center from, West Baltimore Street. I can walk up to using a sidewalk. I can walk all the way up to Angel Road on Crimson Avenue. It's not that we don't have the pedestrian infrastructure.
Or can you
It's
go
just
down
that,
Frederick Street? Can't go very
right,
far on
you
Frederick Street.
you dead end at the church, right? So, yeah.
See, if we would have
But for the
thought
most
about this
part-
ahead of time, when the box factory went in, or recycling place, put a sidewalk there, made Vapco put one in, we'd have a pathway to the new development down Kraus Mill Road. But now we have none.
So we did get the easements at least, but with,
But we
So-
didn't push it any further than that.
right.
Okay.
So I'm good with the third paragraph, actually. The only place that I really have a question is the bicycle access. So I definitely agree there's plenty of sidewalks around town, and you can walk a lot of places. But I guess I don't have that vision of what the bicycle access would look like through downtown. And I'm not saying it can't be there, I just don't have that vision, because the roads aren't wide enough to put another bicycle lane in like you see some places, and you don't want people riding on the sidewalk. So I'm good with that goal. I'm not sure how it's going to happen yet.
Okay. Yeah, and it's not, it's not that every street is going to be bicycle safe, but it's when those opportunities come up in development projects or redevelopment, thought towards the, bicycle access is something that should be given, uh, so that opportunity isn't missed.
Yep.
So if we're all generally okay with that third paragraph, moving on to the last vision statement, through collaboration with local, county, and state partners, Taneytown will expand economic opportunities, attract new industries and businesses, and create a resilient and diverse economy. The city will champion community engagement, ensuring that residents have a voice in shaping its future.
I'm good.
I don't know, I thought that sounded good.
So yeah, so just trying to combine working with the various agencies, and one thing about that community engagement component too, we feel that the city is very good with opportunities, providing those opportunities. It might just need to be more effort with promoting them to get a greater participation.
That might be the answer there, promoting to be able to get participation.
Yeah.
So for me, I think really the second paragraph, maybe you think about that a little bit, but I think I'm good with everything else.
Okay. Good, yeah. And, we can modify these as we go, but this is kind of our first shot at kind of synthesizing everything that we've heard to this point. So the vision is, paints the big picture and the aspirations, and then the goals kind of break down that vision into actionable, kind of more focused areas. And so just jumping into those, start with land use and smart growth. We've identified 4 goals within that. Maintaining a balanced mix of residential, commercial, industrial development that aligns with community needs, preserving Taneytown small town character while encouraging strategic growth and redevelopment, enhancing walkability and connectivity between neighborhoods, downtown, and employment centers, and supporting infill development and adaptive reuse of historic and underutilized properties.
Talked
So
about.
just drilling down a little further,
Yeah.
and we kind of talked about these already, but any input on those items?
Yes, so again, maybe it's just the way I read it, but maybe it's because I'm an engineer, I don't know, but when I see balanced, I mean, 10 pounds here, 10 pounds here. So, but I don't think that's what we mean here. I don't think we want equal number of residentials, equal number of commercial properties or whatever. So, again, I don't know what the other word is right now, but when I see balanced, I think equal.
Yeah,
So
that's a good
whether
point.
it's equal area or equal number of buildings, equal number of peoples,
I
whatever
took
it
it,
is.
I took that different. I think with balance, I mean, you've got to have residents to balance the community. So you also need commercial businesses, so we keep our residents employed here within our town.
So for
So
you,
I'm
you
not-
balance would be there's 100 people and 100 people work at the one business, right? And
It's
that's
a balance.
balanced
Or
for you.
even if I have a new business coming in, that's going to help to balance the new residents coming in. So one kind of balances the other. You just can't have more people coming in and no place to work, no place to shop. It has to balance, and that's what I look at as far as balancing.
Right, the ratios have to be functional between
Right.
everything. There needs to be places that provide the services that the residents need. There need to be the residents to make those service providers profitable and viable, and retail
Yeah, so
and
it's a
employment
variable.
centers. So, right, it's not necessarily a one-to-one
Right.
correlation, but the ratios need to
Right.
work
It's a
to
ratio
support
depending on
everything,
what you're
to
talking about.
create
Okay,
that
yeah.
symbiotic sort of relationship.
I can get with that.
Because you're an engineer, that's why you have to balance.
Ah. I don't know. So then on the fourth bullet there, I'm sorry, did I?
You jumped on.
Yep, go ahead.
We're still on the first section, line
Yeah,
one,
I'm
right?
on the fourth bullet of section 1. Okay. So I just, so with the word infill development, I just was curious as to what that means to everybody else. Infill development.
You could probably answer
From
that.
a zoning perspective, it would be just making use of existing developable lots or developable parcels of land. So, there's, as far as residential, there's not a heck of a lot of infill currently available. You can probably count the number of existing building lots in residential areas that don't have a house on them on one hand.
Well, we
But-
got the 14 acres right behind us over here.
Right.
That would be an infill.
Yep, so
So,
this,
so infill is usually something that's not going to require additional city infrastructure to serve, a use that goes there. So, like a new subdivision, you know, there's gonna be new roads we have to maintain, new water, new sewer, all that, you know, that's certainly not infill, but a lot that's, you know, on Baltimore Street that has water and sewer right next to it already, you know, that would be infill, or, you know, something that has the utilities and the roads already around it would be considered infill,
Okay, yep, understand.
at least from my perspective.
Yeah, or even redevelopment of an underutilized property,
Yep.
right? A property that maybe is dilapidated or things of that nature. So, but yeah, it's, you know, filling in those missing gaps, essentially.
Yeah, but it already has water and sewer running to the place. So.
Right, yeah.
It's the Dan, like the Habitat House, the lot at Broad and Tawny Heights. The lot at the corner of Hardy Road, I have activity on that on my desk right now. An infill lot over on Commerce Street. The funny thing is, most of those are corner lots. So there's not a lot, there are not a lot of infill lots left. There aren't. There are lots, but I've noticed, I saw it this over the weekend, a number of them are corner lots, and they're the challenge, because you have two equivalent front yards.
Their property.
So
Okay.
Daryl, so is it a challenge from just the ability to develop the lot based on current city standards?
It is, but there is a mechanism through the BZA for a variance because it's been done someplace before. Now the one lot that's on the corner is super small. It's R 7500, and they're 25 feet by 125 feet parcels, and it's two. So in that development, it's been done before. So I had someone also ask about that same lot. They wanted to do a duplex. Well, that would be creating your own hardship, really. So no, but yeah. So and again, the two of those lots right now there's activity on my desk for, and the one's been feverish. So that's good.
Yeah. So with having to go before the building zoning appeals board, what's the cost to do that? Like the application fee for something like that?
It's not crazy. It slows people down, which drives them crazy a little bit. But really, it's a $600 fee. It'll take about 2 months to get your answer. You draw up the plan, is what I like to see. You know, pick your engineer, and you. I send them. Most of the homework's done by the city. We send them the district regulations. We send them the minimum lot size, the minimum square footage of the dwelling, the rules for parking, that type of thing. And really, they come in front of the planning commission. They you know, knowing that they're asking for a variance at the BZA, they give an opinion or not. The BZA hears it. Again, it's pretty well vetted. Our attorney's there, so make sure that you know all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. And yeah, so it's not so bad, really. It's about a 2-month process.
So you wouldn't view it as a barrier to redevelopment or something that would kind of make people, you know, shy away from doing something like that?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Because sometimes we look at those things. Are there some barriers within the city's codes that might be more of a disincentive to pursue that type of thing? So, and if you're, you know, looking at a lot, you know, if there has been a certain type of variance application that has come in over and over again, hey, should we change that code to make it work a little better? But that's not always the case. So. Okay, are we good with the land use and growth goals then? Any other questions on
Yep,
those?
I'm good.
We're good.
Craig, if I could also just add a comment.
Yep.
I think it would be really beneficial to include in this section of the plan some small call outs that maybe define these words or phrases as they apply to Taneytown. So the average person isn't reading this and confused. They don't know what infill is, especially, you know, relating to Taneytown specifically. So we can include some call outs with a little bit more detail about these things.
Second the motion.
Yeah, I think that's very good, and provide maybe some examples, some graphic examples of what that is. So, some photos and, yeah, actual, real on-the-ground examples. Going into the transportation and mobility goals, um, improve pedestrian, bicycle, and ADA accessibility throughout the city, promote multimodal connectivity between neighborhoods, parks, schools, and commercial areas, implement traffic management strategies to enhance road safety and efficiency, advocate for the completion of the Taneytown Greenway to improve local and regional transportation options. So one question I had here in this set of goals is, do we want to continue to call it the Taneytown Greenway? Is that the that's what it's been known as? Is that still a good name for that, or should we come up with something else?
I'm not sure everybody in town knows what that means, but if we defined it in a little subsection here, I think would be okay.
Okay.
I think
I mean,
the intent was it to actually be almost, what, a linear park kind of thing? Is that what I had heard in the past? So there's plenty of walking, nice area to walk on either side, so.
That's what was envisioned when the name Greenway was, first used. It was envisioned to be a 180-foot wide right-of-way, with a walking or multi-purpose trail, along the side that was buffered by some green space, and very, very ambitious goal.
So I guess the question is that still a vision? Is that still, how realistic is that? Are we going to look at a different design standard for that cross section? And I mean, one thing that we don't want to call it is a bypass, right? I think that's because I don't think we'll get any support from the state if we call it a bypass. So that's just something to think about, whatever the right terminology for that is.
So I guess, we talk about new developments that are coming in and how that will be tied to, like, we'll never get the Greenway if we don't put in a bigger development, stuff like that. So I guess I'm trying to, if we decided we're not going to do any more development, do we still want the Greenway?
Well, I don't see us ever building a greenway the way it was envisioned. It's just, I think it's very prohibitive, where you're having these, for instance, the one right now, the proposed road through Mountain Brook. I mean, you take that road that's now 90 feet and make it 180 feet wide, you're losing a lot of value to somebody. They're already preserving the open space lands. And I mean, the greenway sounds pretty cool. I think it's be neat to have a 5-mile long park, but we have more parkland in Taneytown than any other municipality in the county. So I think we're doing pretty good with parks.
So I guess to that point there, I mean, do we want, I think we should try to improve traffic, road safety, efficiency, but I don't know if we necessarily need to call out a specific project here, so.
When we say the Greenway, are we just talking the Greenway in that respect? Or are we talking about the Greenway when it picks up on the other side of 194 going to Antrim Boulevard? Is that going to be changed to Greenway?
I don't think that was envisioned as part of the Greenway when it
Be
was,
specific to Mountain Brook?
right, to the Antrim Boulevard, completion.
Because I thought we wanted the name to be Antrim Boulevard all the way through.
And ultimately, that'll be your call. So,
Right.
I know Mountain
I don't know
Brook's
if
been
it'd be
using
our
the
call.
term Denali Boulevard, but that's not been approved by the city.
Yeah. So that could be as designated as Greenway, just through that development. That would still be Antrim Boulevard.
I guess I'm struggling whether I want to advocate a greenway, because I think if you advocate the greenway, then you advocate more development. And so I'm not sure where I stand on that right now. If that make, I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever we call it, that alternative, uh, alternative route to avoid the center of the city, the center of town, I think is critical to the ultimate success of downtown. Um, Rather than having, the volume of traffic that goes through town with no intention of stopping, uh, and creating that alternative path, and then freeing up downtown to make it at least feel safer, and make it more pedestrian friendly, uh, and shopper friendly downtown. So
I can do all that on bullet number 3, where I'm going to implement traffic management strategies to enhance road safety and efficiency, right? So I can say that, and I could do that, and I can mean that in the bottom of my heart. But the Taneytown Greenway, I'm not sure yet.
Tiffany, you have any comments? I mean, feel free to speak up, and same way with Paul. Paul, if you have any comments, you're part of this.
But I'll ask you to come to the mics if you do
Yes.
have comments.
I mean, and we don't have to decide tonight, I don't think.
No.
Just-
yeah,
But I don't want to take it out yet.
yeah, this
in my
particular one,
opinion.
yeah, this one's a carryover from the prior, from the current comprehensive plan, and that seemed to be one of the main objectives of that plan. So, if that's no longer a priority, then we should take it out.
Yet the surveys and the responses there indicated that there's support to pursue it.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
But not
and,
as a
you know, and it-
greenway, as a bypass.
And
I
again,
believe.
it's, these are goals, these are not things that we know we can do tomorrow, but this is, what would we like to see, be supported over the next 10-year life of this plan. It may not happen, I mean, it hasn't happened in the 40 years it's been on our plan. And, so there's certainly no guarantee to it, but, and there, no build is certainly an option. But even with the no build option, projections are that, we'll start to see failing levels of performance at existing intersections, even if Taneytown doesn't build another house, over the life of this plan.
Yep.
The no build option still sees more traffic congestion and more failures at failing levels of service, even with the, we don't build anything.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
coming whether we let it happen in the city or not.
Right, yeah, just because Taneytown might take that approach, the surrounding communities will not, yeah. Well, I think at this point, we'll leave it in for now. Um, and we can revisit that, but it seems to continue to be something that we should strive for, so. Going into the community facilities and infrastructure, expand and mobilize public facilities, utilities, and services to meet future needs. Ensure adequate water, sewer, and stormwater management capacity to support sustainable growth. And develop and maintain parks, trails, and recreational programs for all age groups.
I'm good.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, all right. Environmental sustainability and natural resources. Protect groundwater resources to ensure a reliable municipal water supply. Strengthen stormwater management policies to mitigate flooding and erosion. Preserve open space, agricultural land, and critical environmental areas. And encourage energy efficient development and the use of renewable energy resources.
How do we preserve agriculture land? We don't have a zoned agriculture in the city of Taneytown, correct?
Hey, you told me last
We have
meeting
open
we have,
space.
That's not zoned as agriculture.
Well, it's not zoned that way, but
But,
it's,
right, but agricultural is, ag is a
use.
permitted use in a number of different zones, because
Right.
that way, when we annex properties that are not yet developed, you know, they can continue as a permitted use with the farming operations, other than animal husbandry.
I questioned the same thing.
Well, you know, as I read that, I thought about that too.
But
yeah,
that
so don't-
is,
yeah,
you
don't
know,
confuse it with zoning.
but
Yeah.
within the Taneytown environs, you know, there is a lot of ag.
Mhm.
So,
We as Taneytown have no
right,
agriculture
True.
zones.
true.
Other than my comment, I didn't have any other issues.
Same.
Can you maybe just add a descriptor in front of agricultural land, or after it, you know, in the Taneytown vicinity or something along those lines, to sort of clarify that it may not be within the corporate limits?
Yeah. I
Would
think
that
that's a
be
good idea.
something
That'd be fair.
to make it more comfortable?
Because with Soul's property, we're not really preserving agricultural land, we're taking that away. We're eliminating agricultural land.
Well, as properties develop, but it's still a permitted use within a number of zoning districts.
Hard to do agriculture with a bunch of houses.
You, so I guess the question is, do we want to look more like a regional approach, you know, so the city is being encircled little by agriculturally preserved properties, whether it's a Malf easement or a county easement. So that is happening around us. And a lot of folks like that because it will ultimately restrict how big Taneytown can get. So we'll eventually have a hard stop, you know, as far as like what we can annex for future development. And if the, you know, residents and commission think that that's desirable, then maybe we, you know, incorporate some comment or bullet point, you know, for supporting agricultural preservation in the Taneytown region or Taneytown environs or something. But, you know, certainly the need for agricultural land within the city is sort of counter to why people annex. People don't annex because they want to farm for the, you know, for generations and generations. They annex because they want to be able to be served by water and sewer and develop properties. So, yeah, so it is a little bit almost counter to, right, if we say we want to preserve agriculture and then we're annexing properties with the intent of developing them or having, you know, someone develop them.
But we could certainly support agricultural development within the county or the region,
Right.
which is part of their comprehensive plan.
And that influences the character of the city to a degree also.
So maybe we pull that out from that preservation statement and maybe have a separate statement to your point, Jim, and just you know, supporting agricultural preservation efforts within the region.
Go with that.
Yep, I'm good. We good, Bill, Barry? We're good.
Okay. All right, moving on to the economic development and downtown revitalization, support and expand local businesses, tourism, and entrepreneurship. Promote downtown as a vibrant hub with a mix of retail, dining, office, and residential uses. Develop infrastructure and incentives to attract new industries and job opportunities, and strengthen partnerships with regional economic development organizations.
I think we're working towards that now, right? With the city council, and
Yep.
I think we're moving in the right direction on all of those.
I think the only question I had was, about developing infrastructure and incentives. And again, I don't really know what that is right now, so, but it's a good goal. I just don't know what that is.
Yeah, and it's a challenge. We talk about that. ev- Usually, it's in a reactionary way that there's a potential business or industry that is looking at a piece of property or looking at redeveloping someplace, and they don't want to pay some city fee in order to do it, say the water and sewer benefit assessments, because that can be a big chunk of change. So we talk about how we could incentivize, that business to come here. But then when it comes to budget time, we don't put a pot of money in there that could offset those fees because we don't want to give away water and sewer capacity because we spent a lot of money to build it. That's why we charge the impact fees. So you kind of don't want to ding the water and sewer, the utility fund by giving away free connections. But then when it comes time to do the budget, we never put any meaningful amount of money aside for economic development. Doesn't mean it's not a good goal, but it just, typically the numbers don't lend themselves to, putting aside that pot of money to be able to say, okay, this meets, this checks all the right boxes. It creates jobs. It, increases our tax base and yada, yada, yada. So we're going to tap into this, incentive fund, for business X. Doesn't mean it's not a good goal, but
I struggle with having a pot of money to give people or business or whatever, because I don't think that's really the purpose of government. Now, I'm perfectly fine if you say, hey, we have resources and we will help you get a grant from somebody else. We will help you do that. But I'm not okay with like, hey, here's $10,000.
it's interesting. I've heard it described at one point as, the communities that do offer these incentives. It's like putting yourself on the discount rack. This isn't moving, so we need to slash prices so we can sell it. Is that what we aspire to? Or do we aspire to be the community that a, corporation looks at and says, this has what we need. It's got, a good skilled workforce, low crime, good schools, and, our people would love to live in a community like Taneytown, and that's what brings them here. That's an aspirational goal.
Right. And any of those incentives, right, you just don't offer them out of hand, right? You need to do that financial analysis to see, okay, here's what it costs us to provide this incentive, and here's what we're going to be getting in return. And what is that return on, and it's really an investment. And what's that return on investment? And there's an organization out there called Strong Towns that looks at this, and there's programs called tax increment financing, and where the taxes are reduced over a long period of time to attract these businesses or entities to come in. And many times the numbers don't work out, right? They're getting all the benefit, and the schools and the city is losing money for a very long period of time, and it just doesn't work. So it's not just granting those incentives, it's looking at them and making the right decisions. Does it make sense to work with that particular entity to is it a win-win situation for both? So um, it wouldn't be just a money. So I think this particular goal, I think, is general enough that it doesn't identify what that incentive is, but but recognizes that sometimes incentives do make sense to attract businesses to the community.
No recommended changes by me. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, looking at historic and cultural preservation goals. Preserve and promote Taneytown's historic districts and architectural character. Expand heritage tourism and cultural programming to celebrate local history and encourage the adaptive reuse of historic structures for modern purposes. Again, you know, the historic aspects of the city are pretty obvious, and you know that's I think one of the strengths that the community has to build on.
Good with all.
Okay, housing and community design. Provide diverse housing options to meet the needs of all income levels and age groups. Encourage high-quality residential design that aligns with Taneytown's character. Address affordable housing needs while maintaining neighborhood stability. Any comments there? I mean, we have that word diverse in here again. Is that any issues
Thought we
with?
had nothing to do with design.
What was that, Barry? I'm sorry.
I thought we had nothing to do with design. We couldn't tell them how to design their buildings.
Well, that's
You.
the buildings, but you can regulate design of the subdivision itself, the roadways, the setbacks, the road widths, things of that nature. So you can control that part. You can't control the aesthetics of the buildings, but you control the layout on the ground.
And I think affordable housing depends on where you're at in life, because I don't really know what that word means. I mean, I'm sure it means something different to me than what it might you.
Yeah, and that's one of those terms that we'll need to define. And this is an element that we have to address to some degree in the plan to meet the state planning requirements for the comp plan.
So I think as long as we define it, I think I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Because what I wrote down was, I was okay with the statements, but I questioned the implied actions that are going to come out of these. So again, I don't know what those implied actions are going to be.
Yeah, and I mean that to your point, right? Affordable does mean different things to different people. And while it might be affordable for the first buyer, what happens when that buyer sells the house? So that's a tough nut to crack. In that you know, local governments are still struggling with that. Moving on to public safety and community well-being. Ensure police, fire, and emergency services keep pace with population growth. Promote safe, inclusive, and connected neighborhoods. And strengthen community engagement through partnerships with schools, churches, and civic groups.
I'm good.
Okay. And
Good.
then, moving on to the intergovernmental coordination. Enhance collaboration with Carroll County, Maryland state agencies, and regional planning entities. Seek grant funding and public-private partnerships to implement infrastructure and economic initiatives. So, you know, pretty broad goal at this point, but things that we would all want to take advantage of and look to develop these goals in more implementation strategies.
I'm good.
We're good.
Okay. And the lastly is implementation of fiscal responsibility. Align comprehensive plan goals with the city's capital improvement plan. Utilize data-driven decision-making to ensure responsible growth management and encourage community participation in the ongoing planning and development process. So that data-driven decision-making that I was referring to with if you are looking at any kind of incentive elements, you know, you got to do a financial analysis and not just you know, give things away essentially. And it's a matter of making sure the priorities in the plan continue to match with funding priorities with the city's budget.
Would the first bullet point be flipped so the city's capital improvement plan aligns with the comprehensive plan goals
Actually,
instead of
yeah,
the other way
yeah.
around?
Yes, it should. Yeah. Yeah. Because the city's capital improvement plan is a means of implementing the comp plan, so certainly. Okay, that's it for the goals. We had identified a complementary element with regards to just uh, kind of focusing on that vision for maintaining the small town character. Um, so just kind of that was seemed to be um, an important element was what is town character, trying to define that. So we've tried to take these elements and better uh, kind of put some boundaries on what that means. So Taneytown will preserve and celebrate its small town charm by fostering a strong sense of community, thoughtful growth, and high quality of life for residents. The city will achieve this by maintaining its historic character, walkable neighborhoods, vibrant downtown, and welcoming atmosphere, ensuring that future development enhances rather than diminishes in its unique identity. Any thoughts on that statement?
I'm good.
Okay. And then, go ahead.
We're good.
Okay. Just strategies now to maintain the small town charm. Again, trying to better define what that means. So strengthening community connections, encouraging local events and traditions, supporting those festivals, parades, farmers markets to bring the people together. Continue to do that to reinforce that shared community identity. Expand public gathering spaces, development of pocket parks, town greens, and plazas to serve as informal meeting places for residents, enhancing partnerships with local organizations, working with the schools, churches, civic groups, historical societies to keep those community traditions and volunteerism going.
Good with all them.
Okay. Preserving historic character, protecting the historic architecture, adopting and enforcing design guidelines to preserve and repurpose historic buildings rather than replace them. And the historic provisions are one component where you can have some control over the architecture of the building. So that's in there. Promoting heritage tourism, highlighting the town's rich history through walking tours, interpretive signage, and restoration projects, and supporting local businesses in historic buildings, looking for grants, tax incentives, facade improvement programs to keep historic structures active and well maintained. This kind of meshes well with anything that the Main Street program might be undertaking.
So on the last bullet there, so where it says offer grants, so I don't know if Taneytown's going to be in the business of offering grants, but we can support obtaining them, I think. Is that correct?
There are some opportunities that are available to local governments that may not be available to other organizations. So the city's actually been fairly successful at procuring or securing grant funding to pass through to building owners in the sustainable community area. So essentially the older part of town.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily funded by the city, but it's facilitated by the city.
Or was that a better word then, instead of offer, facilitate?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, we could say that. Yeah, yep.
When I see offer, I think we have a bank account where.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would, yeah. Um, Thoughtful growth and development. Encourage small-scale mixed-use development. Maintain the town's character by promoting locally owned businesses, traditional neighborhood layouts, and context-sensitive design. Design streets for walkability and connectivity. sidewalks, tree-lined streets, and pedestrian-friendly public spaces will keep Taneytown inviting and accessible. Limit big box and strip mall development, encourage small-scale retail and unique locally owned shops instead of generic commercial sprawl.
So when we say context-sensitive design, is that, I guess,
So that would-
the area that you're in, like downtown would have a different than the edge of town?
So so what we would do there, like, yes, exactly. So context meaning the area that you're in, right? But if there is a design that you would like to promote in maybe the more fringe areas of town, it would be identifying what those designs are and then making sure they're that vision is implemented through the zoning codes. So it might be more of a, maybe on those, instead of the curvilinear streets in the newer neighborhoods, maybe you'd like to see more of a replication of the downtown development patterns in some of the more remote areas. Maybe not with the same smaller lot size, maybe larger lot sizes, but still that more of a grid pattern development versus curvilinear streets.
Okay, yep.
If that's the desire, yeah. And then, I don't know if you can just page down there.
I
Okay.
was, yeah, I was actually kind of surprised to see the limited big box and strip mall development.
So that,
We've always been kind of leaning away from the big boxes, just because of the traffic that it would encourage.
Population for one anyway, I don't
Well, I
believe.
know we don't, I don't think we have the population for one, but I guess I was just kind of surprised to see that, because if I put a Walmart at the end of town, everybody'd be happy.
Well, I don't think Walmart would put one in because of,
Certain stores that's.
right, yeah, so I think that's fine.
okay.
And then, but then strip mall development, so what's a strip mall to you guys?
Shopping center, strip mall,
So we don't want any more of them?
It's limited.
limited to it, I think we should.
Okay. Okay.
Don't
The
want in
more-
every neighborhood, you know.
If we put,
Yeah, I don't want one in every neighborhood. I just,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm envisioning one day they're going to be out there, another strip mall out along Antrim Boulevard somewhere. So, but I guess if you're allowing one more and that's your limit, then you're limiting it, okay?
what goes in a strip mall, it's gonna limit what may come downtown.
Yeah. Nope, I'm good. Thanks.
Jim, you had,
I'm trying to formulate something. I'm thinking of, you know, and I read a lot that's discourages the strip mall type development and things like that. But then I think about the type of new development I see in the region, and certainly, you know, there are those that emulate a town center, you know, where they have little clusters of you know, service businesses and food service and maybe some retail, and they, you know, create almost like a, you know, traditional grid system within, rather than just like a row of shops like the Taneytown Shopping Center is. Yet we also hear feedback about the convenience of parking, you know, right in front of the store that people want to patronize. So I just think it's an interesting challenge to work through. But, you know, in our general business district, how do we see development coming to the city and not discourage that development by, you know, making them go outside of their comfort zone too much, compared to what they're used to building. You know, if we do see, you know, a chain type operation, you know, that wants to locate in general business, how do we, how do we steer that to get something that's not, your typical strip mall, but still get that development and, services for the residents?
So I had a chance to drive through Villages of Urbana. You guys should do that sometime. It doesn't look like any development we have around here, I can tell you that.
It is, yeah, it is different, and there are some good examples of mixed use, different types of dwellings, interspersed as well. Of course, the socioeconomic aspect there is, considerably different than
Right.
here.
Right.
But yeah, they have some very, very neat things happening, I think.
I think that would change people's opinion of the development if something like that was proposed. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you
going
know,
away
it's-
from affordable.
it comes down to implementing some design standards, with a commercial development and maybe through landscaping or signage and things of that nature that don't make it, appear like like the strip mall that you're used to seeing, right? With just a bunch of asphalt and a large parking lot, and then this storefronts. So it's really a matter of design standards to kind of create the situation that you want to see while not harming the business, the success of the business, I guess.
Well, I think the reason that I mentioned it, the reason I thought it was relevant is their downtown business area is really nice. So that's, it's just storefront for 2 blocks, 3 blocks or something like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just this, streetscape design standards can do a lot, and then that will attract businesses as well then. Next is the preserve open space and agricultural land, uh, maintain the surrounding rural landscape, farms, and scenic views through conservation efforts and zoning controls. Um, Expand parks and trails, create linear parks, nature trails, and greenways that provide access to open spaces without overdeveloping them, and encourage sustainable landscaping and tree preservation, protect mature trees, native vegetation, and community gardens to enhance aesthetics and environmental quality. Um, so based on some of the feedback we got already with the ag land, I think this actually deals with it a little better, with talking about surrounding landscape rather than actually with what's within the city limits.
My only problem with expanding parks and trails, it comes with a great expense to the town, maintaining all that land. Everybody's worried about tax base and everything. Your tax is just gonna go up. There's that word greenway again.
Yeah.
And I think here it's used in the more conventional manner.
Correct.
Because typically from a planning perspective, when you talk about a greenway, it's usually more of a natural or recreational, trail.
Right.
And
That's
not,
That's why we
not-
shouldn't use it in the development, because we're talking about a bypass the other greenway. And I don't think we should be calling it a greenway.
Right, right.
So you're saying, like the example we've seen in Mount Brook, you don't think that should be called a greenway?
No, because that's a bypass. Because once you call it a greenway and you have a walking trail or a bicycle trail, you'll never get that back, because the people will just get petitions up. So call it what it is, or what you want it to be.
Yeah, I think, and Jim, you can chime in too. I think we just need to be cautious, going back to that conversation of the Taneytown Greenway. I think we have to shy away from, even though it is a bypass or an alternative route around the center of the city, it's that the bypass term is not something that the state is really supporting from a funding perspective. So we just need to
Right.
call it something call it something
Plan
else,
major
but
road.
not what it is, yeah.
We've struggled with that for probably 20 years now.
Yeah.
With what do we call it that won't, shut us down automatically like the word bypass does.
Right.
And, the Taneytown connector was floated, all kinds of things. And
I like Boulevard.
so,
Yeah.
so for a while we were just saying, complete the construction of Antrim Boulevard.
Yeah.
But,
And maybe that is what we call it. I mean, that's, yeah, maybe that's what we end up with. But we'll play around with that a little bit and end up somewhere where it's not a bypass and not a greenway. Okay, supporting a vibrant, walkable downtown. Encourage a mix of uses. Ensure downtown remains a hub for dining, shopping, entertainment, and civic activity. Enhance public art and cultural programming. Support murals, sculptures, live performances, and local artisans to enrich downtown's identity. And make downtown a destination. Foster a welcoming small town atmosphere by prioritizing pedestrian-friendly streetscapes at meeting and community events. So again, this particular statement is very much aspirational because we're not really seeing a lot of that right now. But I think those are the kind of things that when you do walk through a downtown and these things are going on, that's what makes you feel that it's vibrant and really successful.
Yeah, I think for me, the only thing in this part was the word remains, and I didn't know if that should be ensured downtown becomes.
That's a good suggestion.
But I'm good with everything else.
Okay. And then lastly, just summing it up, by integrating these strategies, Taneytown will retain its small town charm while embracing growth in a way that strengthens its community fabric, preserves its history, and enhances its livability for generations to come.
sounds like someplace I'd want to live.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can appreciate the strategies better than the goals. It's a little bit more defined for me when I read them. So
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Back to the agenda.
Yep. So. Emily, what else is on the agenda there?
That was.
The key person?
For next steps, we still have the key person interviews
Yes.
Right.
and then, adjusting these visions and goals based on this discussion, which will be for next time.
And then we'll get into the actual plan elements next time as well.
Mhm.
So were the key person interviews going okay, or I haven't heard anything
No,
about it?
we haven't done them yet, so that's we'll make it a point to get down there to get those underway though, because those will help to kind of fill in some of the blanks and it will there's still a lot of value with that for sure.
Can I ask a question, please,
Yeah.
Chairman? So we had originally talked about Arrow doing the key person interviews. Do we really care if, 'cause some of the people, when I talked to them, were fine. In fact, one person was adamant. They wanted to be interviewed remotely. I'm just throwing out there in cases, because I mean, you're what, an hour on the other side of Philadelphia?
Yeah.
And there's 14 people to interview. So I'm just asking the commission what their thoughts are on in-person, remote, or what have you. Or you guys to stop me right now. If you guys don't care, then I don't care.
Me, as long as you complete an interview, it can be online, in person, as long as you have an individual from, a key person from one of the companies or whomever the 14 or 18 people we selected, as long as you get it accomplished, and I think that's the method we should use.
Now, what do you want them to do? Give their view as a company owner or as a personal owner? I mean,
Company, I'd like to see it as a company.
okay, well,
owner.
you should specify that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll give them the opportunity to do both, honestly, right? If they live in the community or nearby, right? We'd like to hear that perspective as well. But, you know, certainly as a company too, in terms of what makes them, why they're here, what do they need to stay here? What can the city do to improve their situation?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is to get the information. So if that's what
Yeah.
we have to do, that's what we
Yes.
have to do.
Yeah. I mean, and thanks, Daryl, because that would make it a little bit easier for us to do that. And that has been one of the hurdles, is just getting that block of time to come down to.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Else?
That's all we have for tonight.
All right. Anyone from the floor would like to make any comments? Please come forward.
Fawcett, Carroll County Government. To the point of the housing diversity, thinking of housing diversity that serves different needs, so maybe a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment, and it's different than a studio or accessibility on a bottom level as opposed to upper levels for people who have mobility issues, and then income levels from whether it's going to college students or a full family upscale or something like that. I think when you're looking at the diversity, not just the type of housing, but who can actually live in the housing. That was one just to consider. And then for the goal 2, I think Arrow even said it, to advocate alternative routes that divert traffic from downtown, if you didn't want to call out the Greenway in particular, and then still say not excluding the Greenway, and then you can kind of say to it. And then goal 5 for incentivizing businesses to promote that balance that was spoken about earlier between the citizens and the economy and the businesses in the area, because I know that word incentivize was like just throwing money at people versus actually doing it to promote that balance that's in. So it'd be worth it.
Yeah, great.
Good. Good. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So where's Paul? Oh, there he is.
Everybody was waiting for you.
I'm standing up tonight. Try to speak.
Thank you.
That'd be nice.
Anyway, some good thoughts to share. As it relates to the key strategies to maintain a small town charm, those are a lot of great strategies, really encompassing and a real good overview of, I think, what's important for Taneytown. But I wanted to ask, can there be specific target projects put into the plan that relate to some of those general categories? Can we ultimately identify a specific wish list of things in town that we want to target for those strategies? That's a question. Number 2, related to the key person interviews, I do think it's good PR for the city and the whole plan to do the in-person interviews with key businesses in town. Now, I remember the list might have been shortened to like the fire department, the police department, senior center, American Legion maybe, but I wanted to encourage that major business owners in town also be contacted. And for example, I think the owners of Antrim should really be contacted personally for their insights. They may have responded to the survey. It's quite possible. The same with the general manager or the owners of APCO and FlowServe. I think you should consider the two large franchise dealerships. They've been in town a long time. Some are more vocal than others, but I just think that would be just tremendous for the city to get their honest opinions conducted by Arrow as a consultant, coming right from the consultant. That's just my suggestion. Number three, is there a timeline for the plan with, say, target dates for different phases of completion of the plan as we go along? I don't know if there's a deadline that the city has to have the plan signed off by the council.
It's been 14 years.
Yeah, 14 years late.
So you got a lot of,
So I think when we came into this, we were thinking about 11 meetings. Yeah, it could be 12, it could be 13, but just about a year's worth of time.
I wasn't trying to rush it, but I was just wondering if there was some kind of a game plan in that.
We're making progress.
And Chairman, if you
Oh,
don't,
absolutely.
and Paul,
Absolutely, yeah.
Paul, Chairman, do you mind if I answer?
Please do.
So about 6 months ago, we agreed to the group of people that would be the key person interviews. Don't want to stagger from that. Don't want to say this person's more important than that person. That's your opinion. I respect that. And there's no right or wrong really, but yeah. So that list is on our web in the minutes for, I believe, the Planning Commission, and I think Paul was around June, July or so. If you don't find it, you have problem. But I believe there's 14 people. It's those people. I contacted all of them to give them the heads up that we would be contacting them for them. All right. So I just don't want people hearing this to go, hey, why didn't they call me? All right. So thanks, sir.
Okay. No, that was all. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Have anything else? I haven't heard anything from Councilman Tillman, so we'll mark him as absent for tonight. And with that, I'll entertain, well, our next meeting is April 22nd. So I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make the motion.
Second.
Who seconded? Seconded. Dan seconded, Morris. All those in favor of the motion of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried. Thank you, folks.
You.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Very good input.